New this morning, officials say one flight recorder has been recovered from Thursday's horrific Air India plane crash that killed some 290 people. A new angle shows the moment that Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed. You see it taking off there from the runway, and as you will watch that plane get lower and lower and lower until there is that terrible and enormous explosion. Remarkably, after all of this, one man managed to survive not only the explosion or the fact that it went into buildings. He's apparently a British national who was in seat 11A, according to his boarding pass. The Hindustan Times reporting that he told them he heard a loud noise just before the plane went down. Dozens of others on the ground were killed when the plane slammed into a hostel housing doctors and medical students. With us now, CNN transportation analyst and former inspector general at the Department of Transportation, Mary Schiavo. Mary, thank you so much for being here. That black box, one of them recovered, where we will start getting some concrete answers. But you have two clues here. One that you pointed out yesterday, that the flaps not being deployed may have been a problem. But another big clue from that sole survivor of the crash, saying that he heard a bang about 30 seconds after takeoff, and we know that this plane went down about a minute or a little less than a minute after takeoff. What might that indicate?
Well, it could indicate a number of things. I mean, immediately when you hear of a big bang on takeoff, you think of it what's called an uncontained engine failure, and that is the engine literally has a breakdown. It has a failure of various parts, and it can spew out literally metal, flying pieces of the engine, etc., and the housing doesn't contain it. It would be extremely rare to have a dual uncontained engine failure. It could be a bird strike. It could be any number of things. And he also reported, and I found this very interesting, he said the lights were flickering about the same time. And so he has a wealth of information. The doctors, I also saw the doctors put him on strict order and observation. So it'll be a while before the investigators probably can talk to him officially, but those are important clues.
Yeah, I do want to ask you about Boeing. Boeing has faced such scrutiny with all of the things that have happened to some of their other planes, not Dreamliners, but some of their other planes with things like, doors blowing out and tires falling off. At this point, what kind of pressure are they under in this particular crash?
Boeing is under tremendous amounts of pressure, and ordinarily you prove what went wrong. Boeing, because of all of the problems, it's not the same plane, but not just the 737 MAX 8 crashes, where Boeing's control systems and something called the MCAS, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, it was a bad program. It overrode the pilot's commands to pull the nose up, etc. That's been resolved, but because of that, Boeing is going to be under intense scrutiny to prove it did not cause this accident rather than the other way around. Usually you have to prove what did cause the accident. And also remember, back in January of 2025, there was a curious incident, didn't get much coverage, CNN covered it, but there was a Dreamliner coming out of Lagos, Nigeria. It was a United flight headed to the US. During that flight, the plane itself disconnected the autopilot, disconnected the auto throttle. The plane did several uncommanded maneuvers, and the significance of that is the NTSB already has an investigation open on the Boeing Dreamliner and that incident. So the NTSB has already been invited in. They will be a huge benefit to these investigators because they already have working groups going on that investigation concerning Boeing and the Dreamliner. Honeywell, this one will include additional manufacturers. So they're starting with a lot of clues already, but as soon as they have both black boxes, it will be on the flight data recorder what happened. It's the most advanced black box in the world.
Yeah, very important to have those. We will have some answers once they get that data. Mary Schiavo, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Crews in Western India now combing through the records of Air India Flight 171 as the world waits to learn the cause of the tragedy that has claimed hundreds of lives. The Indian Prime Minister arrived at the crash site. You see him there just a short while ago. It is unclear if the black boxes or flight recorders have been recovered. The Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner went down in Ahmedabad on Thursday, losing its transponder signal less than a minute after takeoff. All but one of the 242 people on board were killed. One man remarkably survived. The plane was headed for London's Gatwick Airport, carrying Indian, British, Canadian, and Portuguese nationals. Dozens of others died on the ground when the plane hit a hostel housing doctors and medical students. We're told the overall death toll has reached at least 290 people and could still rise. The only passenger to survive, seen here, remarkably walking away from the wreckage under his own power. The Hindustan Times reports he's a British national who'd been assigned seat 11A. Investigators will focus their investigation on whether human error, mechanical failure, poor maintenance, or a combination of those factors caused the crash. Journalist Vidika Sood traveled to the scene of the tragedy and sent in this report earlier.
We're about 20 meters away from the crash site. I'm going to show you that crash site now. It's about 2:40 in the morning, dead of night. And what you see are a row of buildings charred completely, if you can see that on camera. Absolutely charred after being hit by the plane, the Air India 171. Now, what I'm going to show you to the right are some charred trees. They've been moved away. They were damaged, of course. They caught fire. You see a lot of people standing around. I believe more than 300 officials are inside that building as of now, according to the local police here. And here is a stunning and shocking image that I want to bring to you before I bring you more details of the wing of the plane, just about 20 meters away from the crash site. This is what they've pulled out. And this area has not really been guarded by police officials. Only the media is allowed. Of course, we're not touching anything, but just continuing to show you the wing of the plane here. Absolutely charred. And what's worse is, while you stand here, you can smell the fuel, you can smell the smoke and the burnt metal that kind of lingers in the air. And now just showing you the number of people inside. I believe, like I said, about 300 officials inside. Search operations are on. There are remains of the bodies that they're still searching for. A lot of the remains have been found. But one of the biggest challenges for the next few days will be DNA testing to ascertain whether they can give those remains to the family members who are waiting outside the hospital. It's a grieving moment for so many families. We're talking about 241 passengers. We know of one lone survivor till now, and that itself is a miracle, really. We know of this man, a British national, who walked away from the crash site, and I think that amazed everyone around, not only in India, but across the world, that one man walked away from the crash site. He's in hospital right now, and it's just stunning, really, to even talk about it. But coming back to this place now, we're about not even a kilometer away from the airport. Very soon you might just hear planes going above us. And just a small anecdote that I want to share with you, we could see nervous faces at the airport as well. I took a flight into Ahmedabad just about an hour and a half back. And even on that flight, when it was turbulent, and it really was, you could hear people shrieking, you could hear them really being nervous and worried for their lives. And that's what's going to stay with a lot of passengers across India, at least for the next few days. There's this fear that's gripped India right now. Of course, there's grieving, there's mourning for all those passengers on board. We're talking about 242 passengers and crew members, 169 Indian nationals, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese nationals. So we're talking a lot of people on that plane. At the hospital, it's like a war-like situation, getting people in and trying to help those who are injured. We believe a lot of students from these buildings are also being treated at the hospital right now. We don't know how many casualties, if any, are there from this building, but we know there have been a lot who've been injured. But this is the tragedy site. This is the crash site we're bringing to you.